It is now your time, and Cathy Saunders with Quincy Medical Group is here to talk with us about Mental Health Month was May, and for the last 2 weeks we've been doing interviews with the folks at Quincy Medical Group about how you find it in children, in adults. Now we're going to talk about the elderly. Good morning, and thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So how different is depression and anxiety in elderly as opposed to kids or even adults?
Well, there are a lot of similarities. Some of the differences might be in the way the elderly are dealing with physical symptoms. They have a lot more ailments, which can make them unhappy, sad. It limits their activities. So sometimes it's kind of hard to distinguish if someone isn't getting out. Is it because they are physically not able to, or are they depressed? Are they withdrawn? Also, there are different attitudes. A lot of people, the elderly included, who think that it's normal to get depressed when you're old. And the fact is, the majority of the elderly are not actually depressed.
Sure, yeah, I would imagine a common misconception.
Is there a way to kind of distinct between, caretakers out there of it's just, you're just getting older and depression? Because sometimes they're not depressed, they're just like, I just don't feel like doing that anymore.
If it seems more prolonged, if they've lost interest in activities that they could still participate in, if they're not staying in contact with friends, if they seem to be sleeping more. Also, the elderly who aren't necessarily used to talking about their emotions might express things more in physical terms. I'm tired all the time, or I just can't seem to get out of bed, and that sort of thing. So that makes it a little bit different.
Let's talk a little bit about treatment. How different is it to treat depression and anxiety in older generations as opposed to the younger ones?
It's actually not that different. It's still a combination of medication and therapy really are the best. But it's also good to have family members or caretakers really work with their loved ones and make sure that they're active and engaged so that, they're not lonely or isolated.
We often talk about mental health and of course, like shattering the silence, erasing the stigma kind of thing of if you have heart disease, you can get it treated. If you have diabetes, if you can't see, you can get eyeglasses. So mental health, the exact same thing. Can someone who's suffering from depression or anxiety see this themselves, or is this something that the community, their friends and family have to notice from a outside looking in kind of thing?
Well, what I've found in therapy is very often they actually do realize it. They may not have admitted it to themselves or someone else, but once you can get past that stigma factor, they often do recognize it, but not always, but they can get help. And
talk about some success stories, some of the patients you've seen that have come in with depression or anxiety and what it's like after therapy and medication for them.
Oh, I had one woman, it was just a great story. She had a lot of physical ailments, but the biggest thing was the isolation. And she had taken care of an older mother, and that mother had passed, so she kind of lost her purpose. So we sort of worked through that. And I gave her homework to walk with her sister every day, and she got excited during session. She started doing it on a daily basis, and we started just meeting once a month, and now I haven't seen her for probably 3 months. She's so happy.
That's great.
And really enjoying a full life.
Good deal. All right. Cathy, thanks so much for coming in and for sharing this information.
Thank you very much.
We will, as always, put this interview on our Facebook page, I believe, or possibly website. So if you missed any of it or want to rehear anything Cathy said, you can check it out there.